Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear students, this is lecture 2. We are still talking about the consonants of English. Today we are going to talk about the second pair of stop sounds, which is t and d. If you remember, last lecture we talked about the first pair of stop sounds, which was p and b. That is on page 42. Now, if you remember, any stop sound cannot be pronounced without having a complete closure in the oral tract. So, to pronounce the t and d, the tip of the tongue should be in complete contact with the alveolar ridge. This is the closure we have in order to pronounce t and d. That's why t and d are called alveolar sounds. Why? The name is taken from the alveolar ridge, because the alveolar ridge is the passive articulator involved in the pronunciation of this pair of sounds. The tip of the tongue is raised to be in complete contact with the alveolar ridge. You can try it yourself by saying a t, a t. You can clearly and easily feel that your tip of the tongue is in complete contact with the alveolar ridge, which is the area immediately behind the upper front teeth. Okay? At the same time, if you remember, don't forget that this complete closure will block the oral cavity, so the air cannot go out through the mouth. At the same time, the nasal cavity is raised and it blocks the soft palate. The soft palate is raised and blocks the nasal cavity. The soft palate is raised and the nasal cavity is also blocked. So the oral cavity is closed and the nasal cavity is closed at the same time. This is the closure we need in order to pronounce t and d. Now, after that, we come to the release phase, or the release stage, where we have it when the tip of the tongue moves away, or lowered, if you like, and let the air pass through the oral cavity with a slight explosion. Because don't forget, when we make the closure, the airflow will be stopped for a short time. Then we have the release, and the air goes out with a slight explosion. Let's have a look at figure 17, page 42. You can clearly see in this figure that, first of all, the tip of the tongue is in contact with the alveolar ridge. You can see the contact here, and the oral cavity is closed. And at the same time, the soft palate is raised and the nasal cavity is also closed. At this particular point, the air will be trapped. Why? The air is trapped because the air cannot go out through the mouth and cannot go out through the nose as well. Both cavities are closed. But when the tip of the tongue moves away from the alveolar ridge, a space will be available for the airflow to go out through the oral cavity, but with a slight explosion. That's why we call it a plosive sound. Okay? This is how to pronounce t and d. Okay? Now, we said that both t and d are alveolar, and both of them are stops, but they differ in what? They differ in voicing. T is voiceless because there is no vibration in the vocal cords. You can clearly check that by yourself by putting your fingers on the side of your neck and say t, t, t. You can feel no vibration in the vocal cords. That's why t is a voiceless sound. But d is voiced. You say d, you put your fingers on the side of your neck and practice it yourself, and feel if there is vibration or not. Definitely there is vibration in this case. So the difference between ta and da is in voicing. Ta is voiceless while da is voiced. Since ta is voiceless, it's going to be strong, and da is voiced, it's going to be weak. So both are stops, both are alveolars, and but ta is voiceless while da is voiced. This will make ta strong and da weak. Now, what is the effect of this difference on the sound itself and the sound that comes after it? Let's see. If you remember, we talked about aspiration, and we defined aspiration as a puff of air that accompanies the pronunciation of stop voiceless sounds when they are at the beginning. Based on this definition, which one of these two sounds can be aspirated? Definitely ta, because ta is stop, voiceless, and if it comes at the beginning, as in the word tight, there is a puff of air, it is aspirated, and the following sound is devoiced. And we also talked about the meaning of devoicing, if you remember. Now, da cannot be aspirated. Why? It is stopped, correct. It is at the beginning, correct. But da is voiced. So one of the conditions is not satisfied. That's why da is not aspirated, and nothing will happen to the following sound. There is no devoicing. Just to refresh your minds, devoicing, as we said, means that either the sound will lose some of its voicing, or if you can understand it in a different way, the voicing in the sound will start at a later stage. So there is a delay in voicing, while in the first viewpoint, it is a kind of loss to the voicing. Okay. So ta can be aspirated, the following sound is devoiced. Da is not aspirated, and the following sound will not be devoiced. It would be a normal one. Now, what is the effect of the sounds ta and da on the preceding sound when they are in final position? The same thing we had with pa and ba, with fa and va, with sa and za, the same. Because ta is strong, the preceding sound will be shorter and weaker than usual. Because da in the word hard is weak, the preceding sound will be longer and stronger. So a in hard is stronger and longer than a in hard. Okay? Why? Because it is followed by a strong sound, and here it is followed by a weak sound. Now, do we have ta and da in all positions? Yes, we have them initially, medially, and finally. And we have so many words in English in which we have ta and da in all positions, like top, better, eat, dog, body, bed. Okay? Now we go to the third pair of stop sounds, which is ka and ga. Ka and ga. As usual, we are asking ourselves, where is the complete closure now? If you remember, with pa and ba, it was at the lips. In ta and da, it was at the alveolar ridge. Now, where is the closure? The closure is between the soft palate, or sometimes called the velum, and the back of the tongue. The back of the tongue will be raised to be in complete contact with the soft palate. That's why these two sounds are called velar sounds. The name is taken from the word velum, velar and velum. Okay? So ka and ga are stop sounds. They are velar sounds. Why stop sounds? Because the air is stopped in the pronunciation of ka and ga for a short time. Why velar? Because they are produced when the back of the tongue is in complete contact with the velum, or the soft palate. At the same time, as we said, the nasal cavity should be closed by the soft palate, which takes a raised position. It's in a raised position. Now, After the closure stage, we have the back of the tongue is lowered and the air will pass through with a slight explosion. Actually, through the mouth. So both are oral sounds. Kaga oral, tada oral, paba are also oral. All stop sounds are oral sounds. Now, if we go to figure 18, page 45, let's minimize. Yes, this is ka and ga. You can see here that the back of the tongue is in complete contact with the soft palate, so the oral cavity is closed, the air cannot go out, and at the same time the soft palate is raised and the airflow cannot go out through the nasal cavity. Again, both cavities are closed. Both cavities are closed. The nasal is closed, the oral cavity is also closed. So the air will be stopped for a short time. This figure shows the closure stage. If we want to draw a figure that shows the release phase, we should lower the back of the tongue a little bit and let the air go out with slight explosion. Okay? Now, as we said, ka is voiceless. Sorry, ka and ga are velar. They are stop sounds, but the difference is in voicing. Ka is voiceless, while ga is voiced. It is voiceless because there is no vibration. You can check it by yourself. It is voiced because there is vibration, and you can check it also by putting the fingers on the side of your neck. Okay, so ka is velar, stop, but voiceless. Stop, ga is stop, velar, but voiced. Again, which one of them is going to be aspirated? Definitely ka, because ka is voiceless and ga cannot be aspirated. So the word, the sound ka in cot is aspirated. Why? Because it is stop, voiceless at the beginning. And the O will be devoiced. It will lose some of its voicing. In the second word, we have got, we have ga sound. Ga sound cannot be aspirated. Why? Because it is voiced. It is stop, correct. It is at the beginning, correct, but it is voiced. So it is not aspirated, and the following sound is not devoiced. Okay? Now, again, what is the effect of ka and ga on the preceding sound when they come in final position? In back, the sound a is going to be shorter and weaker. Why? Because ka is voiceless, strong. So a is going to be shorter and weaker than usual. On the other side, we have bag. G is voiced, it is weak. The preceding sound a will be longer and stronger than usual. Okay? The last thing to say here is about the distribution of ka and ga. Again, ka and ga can be found in all positions. Like come, become, book, go, ago, pig. But I want you to pay attention to some words which end with G letter, but this G letter is not pronounced as ga, it is pronounced as ing, which is one of the nasal sounds we have in English. A word like long, sing, ring, it is not ring, neither long, it's not wrong, it's wrong, wrong. So pay attention to some words that end in G letter, but this G letter does not result in what? In ga sound. Mostly NG letters can result in ing or ing, يعني ing plus ga. And we are going to talk about this in details in a different section. Thank you very much. See you.